Hey everybody. So our quote-unquote notes today on the scientific revolution are going to be super short. We're just going to kind of reiterate, for the most part, what was the scientific revolution. Why was it important? Kind of why do we even talk about it? And then we're briefly going to cover the main causes. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's get started. All right. So before we do the notes, we have the bell ringer here where I asked you to look through three different discoveries that came around during the scientific revolution and then analyze or tell me how did that invention, how has it impacted you today? What did that invention lead to essentially? All right. So we're not going to go over that, but make sure to read through those in the bell ringer and answer that. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's go over exactly what was the scientific revolution and basically why do we even talk about it. Okay. Why do we quote unquote waste our time? I don't like saying waste our time because we're not wasting it, but why do we spend our time learning about what it is? All right. So essentially, what the scientific revolution is just a series of events for about a 300-year period that's just going to mark the emergence of modern science as we know it today. Specifically, we're going to start in the 1400s, and usually people say the scientific revolution ended around 1700. Now, before the scientific revolution, for the most part in the Middle Ages, when people are observing the natural world around them, rather than relying on their own observations, for the most part they relied on religious texts and material to help explain the quote-unquote natural order of things. Now, the scientific revolution, we're going to see a fundamental shift in how we conduct science. Okay, so rather than just relying on faith-based works, we are now going to switch over and start relying on the scientific method. Okay, hopefully you've learned about the scientific method one of your science classes. Okay, it is the quote-unquote foundation for modern science. Okay, so rather than depending again on faith-based works, with the scientific method, we're now going to start depending on things like logic, okay, observation, reason, rather than simply faith. And so within the scientific method, we observe the natural world around us. We come up with a hypothesis. All right, we conduct an experiment, and then we make conclusions based on those experiments that we've done. And that is going to lead to an explosion, literal explosion in some cases, of new technologies and, just trying to explain the universe that we live in, which is pretty cool to think about. So there are going to be two main causes that are going to help lead to this scientific revolution. The first thing is we are going to see more access to the ideas of the ancient Greeks. Remember, around this time of the scientific revolution, we also have the Renaissance taking place within Europe. And so we have the inventions such as the printing press, in which we can have ideas spread much further, much faster, and people have more access to information, specifically within the ancient Greeks. Now, the other major quote-unquote cause, and we kind of just hinted at it right there, the other major cause of the scientific revolution is we're going to have new technologies. And those new technologies are going to help encourage new ways of thinking. Things such as, the printing press, the microscope, and to a lesser extent, the quote-unquote modern telescope, which Galileo helped quote-unquote create. All right. So that's it for our notes. I told you they were going to be very short, very to the point. Today we just covered what is a scientific revolution, why do we care about it, and then what are the major causes. The next part of our lesson, you are going to watch the crash course video that ties in with the scientific revolution. Okay, it's a really good crash course, and it's going to really help unpack some of those major discoveries that are going to take place during this time period. And then you have a final short reading on Nicholas Copernicus and his heliocentric theory, which again is one of the major breakthroughs during the scientific revolution. If you guys have any questions, please send me an email. But if not, I will see you next time.